Welcome to the Stacey Salyer Show, the podcast for property management leaders ready to think bigger about growth. I'm Stacey Salyer and the only acquisition strategist in this industry who sat on all sides of the M&A table. I've been the buyer, acquiring a 370-door competitor during COVID using seller financing. I've been the seller, building and exiting a 7-figure business. And I've been the corporate evaluator as director of acquisitions, assessing over hundreds of companies nationally. That means I know exactly what you're thinking, what you're missing, and what actually works when it comes to buying and integrating in this space. On this show, we dig into acquisitions as a real business tool, not luck, not someday. You'll learn positioning, strategy, numbers, and integration from someone who's actually done it all. Let's go. All right. Well, my friends, welcome back to the Stacey Salyer Show, where I teach everyone while boomers retire, you acquire. And today I have one of my dear friends on the show with me. We actually only met a year ago in person, at least. I think we may have interacted online.
No. Wow.
But I know it's only been a year,
Yeah.
and which I feel like we go way back. So maybe there's, I don't know, past lives involved.
Yeah, past
Anyway,
lives for sure.
yeah. Who knows where we're going to go with this episode? Actually, I do know where. We are going to talk a little bit about my one-day event that Mark Brower attended in Las Vegas in January. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what acquiring may look like for him this year, as well as some other nuggets that he has. So welcome to the show, Mark Brower. I'd love
Yay, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, well, good. I'm happy to have you. You're a very fun person to talk to and learn lots from. So
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah. So do you want to share a little bit about who you are, where you are?
Sure. My name is Mark Brower. I have a creatively named property management company, Mark Brower Properties, in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been building this business for 15 years. I think of myself as a serial entrepreneur at heart. I love starting new things. I get really excited and I can rally the energy and the people around a new idea. But fortunately, I've also stuck with this one long enough for it to have some momentum and to build into something. I'm a proud father of 4 kids, ages 22 down to 13, and I love to go fast.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I know. I've looked at your culture index, which we've talked about on previous shows.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we both equally are impatient. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's probably why we get along so well. Awesome. Well, I thought I would bring you on to talk a little bit about my one-day event. It was my first annual one-day intensive, just kind of deep diving into all things acquiring. So I guess my initial question would be, this is a pretty broad question, but was there anything that you took away that was like an aha, where you were like, oh, I didn't think about that?
Absolutely. In fact, I've got the spiral bound notebook from the session. I've got it at home, like out in the open for reference. There's a lot of good nuggets in there. One of the things that struck me was just the overall idea of growth through acquisition and how important and how powerful it can be. I think for most of the last 15 years, I've thought, if I got a good business, I don't need to grow through acquisition. People should just be flooding through my front door wanting to do business with me. But what kind of shifted my thinking a little bit is when I realized how costly, how much money, how much resources I can put to growing organically versus somebody's already got the trust built with a few hundred people and we can bring that in. That's really compelling. The other thing that I realized, actually, one of my big takeaways was I already have spare capacity in my current staff and in my current system. So the opportunity cost of me not bringing revenue in with that spare capacity is significant. If I added another 200 doors, I wouldn't have to hire anybody. So all that money, like you might think, well, it's a lot of money to pay somebody like $2,000 per door to buy 200 doors. It's, what is that?
Well, let's see. I don't do math in my head, but let's say 200 times 2,000, that's 400K.
400K.
Yeah.
But if I paid 400K and immediately I had $20,000 a month falling to the bottom line,
right?
I mean, I'd be crazy not to do that, right? I'm going to get all that money back within 2 years.
Plus, then, I mean, I love that you bring up the point that you know your company as well as you do, to know that your staff already has capacity to where if you did dump, and I always say dump 200 doors on your company, it wouldn't like explode.
Not at
So
all. Not at
yeah,
all. So
that's
we,
awesome.
we intentionally build in spare capacity. And you know what? That's a really interesting idea in general. I remember going back and getting my MBA in 2008 and learning, because ASU has a really good supply chain management school, and this idea of the difference between capacity and utilization. Like I used to think, oh, if I'm not running my business at 100%, if I'm not as close as possible to 100% utilization of my capacity,
Mhm.
I'm a bad operator. I'm inefficient.
Mm,
What I learned through that process and that program was actually the optimal utilization for most systems is around 80%, because
interesting.
we have these spikes, and we know this. We have seasonality, we have different things that come up. All of a sudden the crap hits the fan, and if you were already running at 100%, everybody's burned out working overtime, etc. So we're probably running like 65 or 70%
Okay.
capacity.
Okay.
But yeah, you should never try to run at 100% capacity.
Right.
It's kind of like Warren Buffett. Like historically, I think I saw this video one time. It showed like it was a pie chart, what percentage of his holdings were in cash at any one time over a long period of time. And it was like a rapid like timeline. And it showed the average was like 20 to 30% in cash all the time. And I think, holy crap, you've got billions of dollars sitting there doing nothing, just sitting
Right.
in cash. But if you are positioning yourself to make like an incredible like unicorn acquisition, you
Yep.
have to have capacity for that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, it would be very difficult to go out and acquire 200, 300, 400 doors and not have staff. Or I guess depending on what you're buying. Now, if you get lucky and you buy something that maybe has good staff, then you can incorporate. But then, we talked a lot about that and that challenge, because you have your team and, Mark Brower Properties, like everybody's been hired, same vision, same mission statement, all that, where you bring new staff in. There's a lot of turmoil that could happen that way too. So yeah, for sure. You definitely have to have capacity. And I think just as a leader, like you said, you'd be doing your team a disservice if you didn't have like already built in capacity,
For
because
sure.
especially during the summer times. Is summer a busy time for you in
Yeah.
Arizona? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one of the other takeaways I had was just that as we were working together, going through the material, which by the way, the time passed very quickly. I don't know how long it was, like 5, 6 hours at least. And it was
Yeah.
like, wow, this went really fast, which means it was really good content. One of the thoughts I had was as we were going through different segments of your content, I noticed the things that were coming up for me that were probably the most important were like I was confronting my limiting beliefs.
Mm,
Like one of the limiting beliefs is, there's just not that many people willing to sell. Well, as we were talking about it, I'm thinking like, well, no, like I remember back when I was a land broker and I was calling 100 different landowners all the time just to stay in touch with them. And at any given time, there were like 3 to 5% of them that were like, yes, I'm like
mhm.
definitely considering selling. So that kind of helped disabuse that false notion for me. The other one was, well, I just don't have the money for it. Well, you shared a story where
Yeah.
you didn't have the money for it and you did it. You can
Yeah.
find a way. And then we talked about how there's actually like virtually unlimited different ways that you can structure a deal. Like you can do terms, you can do cash, you can do financing, you can do all kinds of things. So I think the most important outcome for me from the 1 day intensive was a shift in my thinking away from like fear and scarcity and like this just isn't going to work, like to more willingness to spend time on it.
Oh, that's awesome. That actually makes me feel really good, because that is really what I want to be teaching. Obviously there's the tactical piece of it, but really it's more about the transformation of yourself, where you walk in the door and you are an operator, you're an owner of a business, and you walk out the door. Now you're an acquirer, right? And so that's cool. That's awesome. I'm really glad that that landed for you.
I love how you frame that. I'm reading the book Atomic Habits right now, and then we're talking about 3 different layers of habits. And one was outcome, like based, I want to start running. The layer that's a little deeper, the second layer is process or structure. Like
Mhm.
I have the process and the structure to run. Like I have a coach, I have a running group, I have, the gear for it, and I have the routes around my house. And then the third layer, which is the deepest layer, which is what you just said, maybe think of is the identity. once you come to think of yourself as a runner, or to use your word, an acquirer,
Yep.
if you take on that identity, like this is who I am, then it becomes intolerable not to have the structure, not to have the behaviors, because it's how you see yourself. And so I think one of the most powerful things that happens to me when I get into intensives or when I'm going to conferences with smart people, it starts shifting the way I see myself, and everything flows from there. That's a deep leveraged activity, is changing my own identity.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. In fact, I focus a lot on identity. Back in the day, I used to feel like, oh, oh my gosh, I'm changing my identity. People are going to think I'm a fraud. But as I grew and I read books like that, or, I work in different like coaching programs, I realized that you need to evolve into your new identity. Former Stacey is not going to get current Stacey where future Stacey wants to be, right?
Yes.
And I can be thankful and grateful for former Stacey. I mean, gosh, former Stacey was super scrappy and, no holds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any money. I'm a single mom still of 3, but yeah, you want to sell your company? I am going to figure out a way to do that. And, of course you can still carry pieces of that identity, but then realizing, oh, well, this is who I am now. And this is who I serve. So I think that's cool.
It's very cool. I used to get hung up on this identity thing, like thinking, well, I got to be true to myself. I got to be authentic. And I really conflated that with like staying where I was. Who you are today is not your truest identity.
Right.
Your truest identity is some future cast, like intentionally building super person that if we can see them clearly, or if we dare to believe that they really exist, or they're sort of pulling us through our present and toward them. And there's a lot of intentionality that can go into that. The other misnomer I used to have about my identity is the way I feel is my truest self. And that's just, at least in my life experience, while trusting our gut and having that body mind that helps us really like tap into our truth, while that's really important stuff, often how I feel is just a byproduct of maybe my chemical, what's going on in my brain, or my lack of sleep, or what I ate, or whatever else. And I think, being true to our true identity isn't assuming falsely that we are our feelings in the moment and we have to act accordingly. It's, hey, my highest and best self is up and back and out of this stream of thoughts and feelings that just kind of come through my life. And I can see them and I can choose the ones that serve me because I'm super intentional and clear about where I'm going. So it's a little bit esoteric and maybe deep, but this idea of identity is so powerful. And if we think of ourselves as acquirers, we are property management acquirers.
Yep.
And we sort of leave behind what we used to think of identity, which was, no, it's baked in already. It exists. And whatever thoughts and feelings come my way, I have to be true to those. And that's my true identity. It's garbage.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I love that. Yeah. You should do all my marketing for me. Just help me get all that out there. But no, I spend a lot of time like on myself, like that identity piece of it as well, because it can be very uncomfortable to realize that you are no longer the former version of yourself. I had a little bit of that last year, because I come from property management. I've been in it, 22 years now this year. And I don't currently own a property management company, but I was going to conferences as a new, now I'm a strategic acquisition strategist is what I call myself. But, last year, I think I bumbled around of, wait, who am I? I don't really fit in the like property management business owner group. And I don't know, it was very interesting. And it wasn't until kind of toward the end of the year where I really was like, wait a minute. This is who you are. Now you've gotten all these great skills and you're here to serve others and teach them, hey, you can also move through into a new identity, go from operator to acquirer and, grow yourself and your business and, grow your wealth and, whatever goal you have. But it's an interesting journey, especially when you're really kind of aware of it and you kind of dive deep into it. Have you felt like that before?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I'm shifting right now. A big shift is going on for me with my identity from small business owner to CEO. I used to kind of have this imposter syndrome. I can't use that title. Like, I'm not a CEO. Like, what? You have to have $100 million business to have a CEO. But I think what's true for me is I'm not going to have $100 million business until I start adopting the behaviors of someone who has $100 million business. And that's not my goal necessarily. It still feels pretty audacious to think of $100 million revenue business right now, at least. But the most important thing, I got really clear last year about what the biggest possible win could be in my business. And it was to find my integrator, to find my second in command, to find my COO. Yep. And I started pouring all my energy and focus into that. And I talked to the smartest people I could find. I asked them all kinds of questions about it. I read a lot of books about it. And by the end of the year in November, I found and hired my COO. And now my whole identity is shifting. I am building the team that a CEO would have. Yep. And it's kind of exciting, but a little scary at the same time. And people, when I go to conferences and I talk about how awesome my COO is, what do you think the first question is that they ask?
Let's see. Do they ask you, well, what do you do all day?
Yeah. No, they should be asking me that. They asked me, they're like, well, how did you find her?
Okay. That was going to be my other guess.
Yep. Yeah. What do you do all day? That's a great question. I talk to Stacey Salyer. We podcast, we read books.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the great life. They say, how did you find her? And my answer has been, respectfully, that's not the right question. The right question is, how did you become the leader she would want to follow?
Yes.
And you know what's interesting? And it actually happened at your one-day intensive. Brian.
Oh, really?
Brian was sitting there. And at the end of the day, I was talking about my COO. And I think I said, oh, he's the one that helped me clue in on this. He said, Mark, your COO wouldn't work for me. I'm not yet the leader that she would need. And it was a very humble statement, but also a statement of great clarity. And I thought, oh my gosh, one of the reasons we need to be really deliberate about who we're becoming is because the only way we could achieve our grandest dreams and visions is to be able to assemble people around us that can do exceptional things. And the people that can do exceptional things, they need a certain level of leader to want to follow and to be willing to follow. And by the way, it's not just about money. It's not just about, can I afford these people? That's not it. That's not even the primary, second, or third thing. That's the most important thing. It would allow you to assemble a team to do really great things. It's they want to follow someone that inspires them and all the other things that a leader can deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of that know, like, and trust. That's really astute. And that was a really cool observation by Brian. Yeah. And I don't think he was like dogging himself. He's just,
no, not at all.
And I think that's really cool. I think one of the reasons I really enjoy talking to you is because you are so introspective. Like you love to analyze yourself. And I kind of do the same thing. So I think people like that kind of come together. But I know for me, it's a lot about, again, like the identity of even myself 2 years ago is not going to get me to where I want to go. Right. And being in the right rooms has really been kind of a big aha moment for me, learning from others and, because I shifted my business. I mean, I'm now like an online B2B basically is kind of what I am, business to business, online, digital. And, it's different. I'm not technically in property management anymore. And I think that was like a really hard shift for me last year. I'll still say, oh, I'm in property management. I've been in for 22 years, but I'm not technically in it anymore. And that's when I finally had that moment of clarity of, oh, I'm not really in it anymore. I've now shifted my identity and now I'm in this different space. And who can I meet? Like to get to my new goals. Now it's okay. Now I've got to be in different rooms and listen to different podcasts and meet different people. So yeah. What about you? Are you finding any some things like that for you as well?
100%. Yeah. So I'm active in entrepreneur organization in the Arizona chapter here, the Phoenix chapter. I've actually come up through, they have a lower level called the Accelerator program, which is companies under $1 million in revenue.
Okay.
And then they have EO, which is over $1 million in revenue. And I remember I was in the Accelerator program for 6 years. And when I joined, they said, hey, we got to get you over $1 million in revenue in 3 years or you're out. They didn't kick me out. I stayed in, it took me 6 years. Sometimes I'm a slower learner. But I remember thinking at the time, I had this weird construct, which maybe isn't so weird for people that are like me. I had this framework that it wasn't actually true, but I thought of myself as in a certain like position in the social hierarchy, just in life in general. And there were people that I didn't qualify to like associate with. And there were some people that I did qualify to associate with, and some that weren't really worth my time. Right. Like it was a really kind of messed up, like it wasn't accurate. And by the way, I've abandoned that. I think everyone is my teacher. I think I can learn things from everyone. I try not to think of myself as above anyone. And consequently, since I've jettisoned that false notion, I also don't think of myself as really below anyone either. And that's been hugely transformational for me, because as now, the people that I used to think, oh my gosh, they're so much more successful than I am. They're so much smarter than I am. I'm not worthy of taking up their time. I'm not worthy of association with them. And if I try, I'm just going to make a fool of myself and be embarrassed and also waste their time. Like this was my mindset a few years ago, and it has completely shifted. And what's really delightful about that, Stacey, is that now when I'm going to an event tonight, and I have another EO event tomorrow, and it's so cool to be able to rub shoulders with people that have a $10 million annual revenue business, or a 20 or a $40 million annual revenue business. And basically that becomes my new normed reality. These are my peers. These are my friends.
Yep.
I deserve to be here.
Yep.
And you know what? Frankly, if my personality doesn't mesh with somebody, it's cool. I'm good. They're good. I'm good. I don't have to feel unworthy or awkward about it. There's enough connections that are available that I just go find my people. It's not me trying to climb the corporate ladder or the social hierarchy or trying to like move up in life. It's just people are people. And if I'm around really smart, successful people often enough, I norm to their reality. It just opens things up for me.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I had a recent experience. I attended a women's event, a retreat. First time I've ever gone to a women's retreat. It was a 2-day retreat in Nashville.
Oh, and yeah. Andrea was there. I saw the pictures.
Yeah. Well, no, this was a different event. I didn't know anybody. Literally.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Walking into the room, it was women who have online B2B businesses. It was really mostly about messaging, but the focus was, finding your voice and feeling good about being seen. And, when you're walking into that room, I mean, these women are badass, like high power. I mean, some are doctors. There's this one woman who handles financials for some of the most powerful families in the country. I mean, these are like people that you'd look at and you're like, wow. But I did not at once ever feel like out of place, because I also know that I had a lot to contribute. And, it was cool. Like we talked a lot about like identity and, again, voice and being seen. And it was a really neat event. So, and kind of the same thing.
I have a question for you about that, if I may.
Yes. This
feeling or knowledge or confidence that you had a lot to contribute, where does that come from?
I think it really just comes from, honestly within, but I think it's really getting, right with yourself and understanding that you may have like outside influences of people who, maybe over the years have told you certain things about yourself, but ultimately, not believing those, because you have to have it from within. So, I don't know. I don't know if I have the best answer or like all the aha moments, but I think it's a practice. It's something like personally, I would say I practice, or also I just look at everybody around me. Kind of like you, I look at everyone around me has something to contribute. It doesn't matter if you're a kid or 90 years old or a janitor. Like I can learn something from you. I know there's something that you can teach me. And so same with me, I can also contribute to everybody as well.
I love that. I love that. And the reason I got curious about that is if we can walk into a room, if anyone can walk into a room and feel confident that I can contribute here, it's a really powerful position to come from. It completely leapfrogs or dodges this notion of, I don't deserve to be here. I shouldn't ask any questions. I should play small. I'm not worthy of anybody's time. Because we flipped it and we said, I deserve to be here because I can contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I, that I'm very spiritual and religious, and I have a strong faith in God, and I go to church every Sunday. And one of the things that is a powerful truth in my life, I believe, is that when I come into a situation, maybe I started by feeling like a little imposter syndrome, a little bit intimidated, a little bit fearful. But if I focus on contribution and feel confident about my contribution, and I do contribute according to my gifts and talents with confidence, then it feels like God is working through me to bless the people that I'm contributing to. And when that happens, like some of his light and power just lifts me up. And then you're also building tremendous goodwill with people. I remember Alex Hormozi once said he invested, somebody's going to fact check me on this. It was like 30 grand to join this mastermind. And he had this incoming class of 4 other people that kind of came into this group at the same time. And in one of their like orientation meetings or whatever, he remembers one guy was like, okay, how do I get my return on my 30 grand? What are you doing for me? And what's next? And like, how am I going to receive, what you guys promised me? And Alex Hormozi was reflecting that he had a completely different attitude. He thought, you know what? I'm really good at writing sales scripts. So everybody in my group that I came in with, I'm going to offer to look at their sales script and completely rewrite it for them because I'm really, really good at it. And he did that for everybody. Like nobody asked him. He wasn't compelled to do that, but he had a contribution mindset. Right. And then he said, and he knew, not that this was the only reason he did it, but he knew that he then had a blank check in his back pocket for all those people that he helped, that they had gifts and talents and that they were wanting to contribute back to him. And so not only does that help us overcome our imposter syndrome and help, God's energy flow through us, which makes us better, but it also creates, significant feeling of reciprocity.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, but I do believe that we are stewards of the gifts that are given to us. So whether you're religious and you use the word God or you use the word universe, source, whatever it is, I do believe that we were given specific gifts and we were put here on this earth at this time for specific reasons. And we probably don't even know why necessarily. I mean, those of us that are like moving forward, checking our identity and, contributing, I think we're getting closer to maybe finding out the why. Maybe we never need to know the why. It doesn't matter. But I think that, the sooner that somebody can come to that realization of, oh, these are my gifts and this is why I'm here. This is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm the steward of this. I think it's kind of cool.
I love that so much. And the other thing that I really like about what you just said is, and I believe this is part of my truth too. I believe this, that we came here with certain gifts and talents that are sort of inherent to who we are, which is a really beautiful thing because it doesn't mean that we have to spend a bunch of time earning the right to contribute or earning the ability to contribute. Now, that's not to say that we can't invest in ourselves and make ourselves increasingly more valuable to other people. That's of course true. But just fundamentally and innately, we are here with things that were just granted to us that we can use without any qualification. And that's important to me because I spent a good deal of my professional life thinking that I hadn't earned the right yet to be in certain rooms, in certain circles, right? But this notion that we inherently have gifts and talents that are automatically valuable to others if we're just willing to show up and try to use them is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, same. I know. I mean, I remember being, a newer like owner broker and going to like NARPM broker owner conferences and sitting in the back of the room and feeling very much, oh, I don't know. Yes, I belong here, but also, do I really belong here? I don't know if I know everything that all these other people know. And sometimes honestly, being a woman on top of that adds a whole nother layer. But yeah, it was just as I worked through, I was like, I've worked through that, over the last few years. It's, I just came to the realization of no, everyone, even a brand new owner broker, whoever, you have something to contribute for sure.
You do. And some people get in this like head trash about creating content, which I think we're all creators. Like the ability to express our gifts and talents and our own unique perspective at this moment in time with our own unique experience is a gift that we all can give, right? Mm-hmm. And we can give it more generously as we learn to write and create content. And so I remember one of the sort of limiting beliefs, and you and we've been working on this, like our content creation, game, and it's a wonderful journey, and it's really fulfilling, and it's really exciting and fun. One of the limiting mindsets I used to have that I heard somebody else articulate was like, well, who am I to say something? Like everything's already been said. There's people way smarter than me that have already said any ideas I have way better than I could possibly say them. Ergo, like, why? Who am I to try to create content? And then I remember somebody once like sort of answered that question. They said, in the New Testament, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all talking about the same thing, same time frame, same general experiences and ideas. But guess what? They all had different perspectives, and we all care about the different gospels. People care a great deal about the gospel of Stacey Salyer, or about the perspective or the idea or the lived experience. It's just a phenomenal idea that each person can contribute their voice. And we're barely scratching the surface with the content that exists now. The story has not been told. It's nowhere close to having been told. And you have a really important voice in contributing to that story.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times people like to assign titles to things. And then sometimes people will take those titles and use them as a negative. I look at it as a positive. I am a content creator. I am an influencer. I'm an influencer in our industry. 100%. Yes. So are you. I'd really actually say anybody is an influencer. I just think some of us like to also create content. And so we are the visible influencers, let's say that. But, I don't look at anything as being negative. I know sometimes people will, throw it around like it's a bad word, like, oh, you're a content creator. But I'm like, heck yeah, I am. Thanks.
Yeah. Let me see your content. Let's go.
Yeah. And, honestly, I do it because I want to provide value. I hope somebody is maybe scrolling at night and they're like, oh, gosh, I didn't know I could buy a business. I thought you had to be a millionaire. I thought you had to be wearing a power suit and walk into a meeting. And, I thought you had to have PE funds or whatever. And, I'm out there to dispel myths with my content and create, new acquirers in the business. So yeah, I think it's important, and it's important to share our message. That's part of our stewardship. And some of us were given those gifts to share. Maybe if you want to go back to the Bible, I went to Catholic school, so I know the Bible. I just don't probably know it as well as you do, but the stories, right? That's how people shared information back in the day, with stories. Really, wasn't Jesus a content creator?
Ooh.
Right?
He was. He didn't actually write anything down. He had a lot of people writing his stuff down for him, which is great. He had the who's. He already understood who, not how. He had writing his stories down.
Right. I know. So yeah, there you go. You heard it from Salyer herself, calling Jesus a content creator. But yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I think it's really important. I would love to see in our industry too, some more leadership development and that kind of thing, and the mindset. I think that we have beaten operations to death.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And trust me, I love operations.
There's more operations genius to come out. Let's be clear. But this is what we're talking about most of the time at conferences. It's the 100%. How. And it's like who you become and the identity you take on in that journey.
Yeah.
The how happens, you can figure out the how if you can change you as a person.
Absolutely. I know. So clearly that's a sign you and I need to put on our own thing or something. We'll talk offline about that.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Yep.
Yeah. So, because I do really believe in that. Again, operations are important, but that whole mindset shift, obviously I teach more, going from operator to acquirer mindset, but that leadership development, you becoming the leader where you gave yourself permission finally to go find the CEO that you needed, right?
Yeah.
So you now have permission to move into your new identity and then beyond. So
it opens up all kinds of additional opportunities for contribution. Sometimes I feel really spoiled, Stacey, that entrepreneurship is just like the dream job of all dream jobs, because as we grow our companies, we can increasingly hire people to do the things that we hate to do, that drain our energy. And what we're left with is just the sweet spot of everything that's invigorating and exciting about business. It doesn't mean it's easy.
Right.
I mean, no growth and learning is easy, but at least we get to grow if we do it right and we pursue this freedom that this entrepreneurship journey can bring us. We get to grow doing hard things that almost perfectly intersect with our gifts and talents. And it's that flow state, and it's that state of being in the zone, and it's contribution at a high level. It's so fun and exciting and exhilarating that why would you ever want to stop doing this? I think retirement's a dirty word. Like I'm going to do this forever. Somebody like 20 years from now, pull up this clip and see if I was actually being honest. Like, I think I'm never going to retire, because why would I want to stop loving people, which is actual work, in my opinion, is loving. It's using our time and gifts and talents in the service of others to improve their lives. Why would I ever want to stop doing that? And the fact that I can also make money at the same time doing it, it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. And I think the other piece of it too is that you get to empower other people, right? So you're creating jobs for people who now get to do things they love to do. I mean, there are people out there that love to do bookkeeping. I am not one of them, but there are people out there, and how cool is that as well? I kind of look at myself. I don't know if I'll ever technically retire, just because I love being able to do what I do. I mean, it sounds cliche, like, oh, this isn't really work, but it's fun. It's fun to talk with other leaders and work with them and help them move to their new identity and grow their company or reach their goals, whatever it is, but it's fun.
It's super fun. I don't know. I can't remember what book I read it in or who said it, but somebody once said, when you're doing something and you get the chills, that's a sign that you're doing the right thing, or you're doing the right kind of work. And I will tell you that I resonate deeply with what you just said, is when I help somebody move along their leadership journey, it's so invigorating. It gives me so much energy and excitement, and I often get the chills in doing it. So I relate with that.
That's cool. I love that. Well, so far we've kind of talked a lot. We've gone pretty deep, although we could probably go deeper, who knows, but just to kind of like circle back around. Yeah. As far as your personal goals this year, because it's 2026.
Yeah.
It is the year of the fire horse. I don't know. You probably know that, right? You've probably seen that on the internet.
Yeah.
And they say that you should have, a couple like main focuses. Would you like to share with anyone what your main focuses are?
Yeah. My personal or professional? Let's keep it professional, because I'm going through some personal stuff right now for sure. Yeah, the professional is, honestly, and it might seem oversimplified, support my COO, remove her roadblocks, give her what she needs, be highly responsive to her needs, and really foster a high trust, aligned relationship there. I think there is so much potential in the relationship I have with my new COO. I see her as a future partner in the business. And so I'm very enthusiastic and excited about that. And then, of course, she and I are aligned that in this stage of the business, we want to solidify operations, solidify the team, right people, right seats, right controls, right things being measured. And she's doing a fantastic job. She's been on just over 100 days and she's really dialing those things in. And as we do that, get obsessed about client experience and then start growing again.
Love
And
that.
so that's what we're working on.
That's cool. Well, that's very focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that sounds really good.
Yeah. Thank you. How about you?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, my main focus this year is really, I have 2 programs. So I'll have a 12-month program where people can come in and work with me side by side. It's a group program, but they will learn everything from, how to go out and acquire, all the messy middle, to how to close it up. And then I will have a 6-month aftermath program. I haven't officially named it, but kind of the acquisition aftermath of, okay, well, I'm going to be closing, or I just closed on some doors. And now how do I, be strategic about that transition plan? So really, getting those out there and, getting people into, from that operator mindset to acquirer mindset, and kind of deploying people throughout the United States to go out and, grow themselves and their business. So
great. So great. Yeah. I think there's a few really talented operators that really excel at growing their businesses organically. I think there's others that we've seen that have really excelled at growing their businesses through acquisition. And, I think I had this subtle mindset blocker that, well, I got to be worthy of the new business. I got to be able to grow organically. And, that doesn't have to be true. In fact, there's a lot of right things about growing through acquisition. And I don't know why I had this little limiting belief like, well, do I really deserve it if all I'm doing is bolting on other people's trust relationships? You know what? Maybe what we're building here, or probably what we're building here, delivers a lot more value than most other operators. And it's a massive win to bring other people into this ecosystem, through acquisition, because immediately we enrich their lives. And I'm impatient anyway, so let's go.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that has been kind of the mindset of just maybe the industry, or maybe kind of the rooms that we've been in, is because I used to feel that way too. I actually felt like a little bit of I don't know if I want to use the word fraud, but even kind of like, oh, do I deserve to buy this company that's in my market? Who am I, right? Who do I think I am?
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm working toward, is trying to, that's dispelling that myth that everybody's worthy. And the other piece that I really want to teach everyone is you're actually honoring somebody's life's work, and that you're getting out in your community and you're having those conversations, and you're finding the person that, either wants to exit, because they just don't like it anymore, or they want to exit because it was their life's work and they do want to go retire on a beach. And how cool is it that you can take that legacy, and what an honor it is that you get to take it on. That's how I look at it. I look at it a little bit kind of different, not just, oh, well, do all the numbers match? And okay, that's, that fits my buy box. I mean, that's important too, but really kind of that honoring their legacy, and honoring their clients and their tenants. So.
I really like that. I'm so glad you said that. That gives me a fresh perspective on the noble cause behind acquisition, is that I can help continue honoring this deep trust that's been built with these partners, these client partners.
Yeah, exactly. See, there you go.
Ooh,
I love it.
That fits with what we do here.
Exactly. I know. So awesome. Well, anything else you want to add?
I mean, we could talk all day, let's be honest, Stacey. So we should do this again sometime soon.
We should.
And I'm just honored to have been able to have this conversation, and hopefully somebody gets some value out of it.
Yes, absolutely. I always love talking to Mr. Mark Brower in Arizona. So if you are an Arizona landlord, definitely look him up. It's easy to find, Mark Brower Properties.
Yes.
Right. Yep. And he has a great team and a great outlook, and he will make your life easy.
And for all of my property manager friends, hopefully we've dispelled a couple of myths about growing through acquisition. We've given it the nobility that it deserves. And there is nobody in this business more focused and experienced on growth through acquisition than Stacey Salyer. So, it's building the right team, building the system that can make the acquisition work. And having Stacey in your corner is vital.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Stacey Salyer Show. Here's the deal. You can read about acquisitions anywhere, but you can't learn acquisitions from someone who's done it the way I have. As a buyer, a seller, and from the corporate side, evaluating hundreds of companies. That's why I need you to subscribe and share this with someone in your network who needs to hear it. And if this episode landed, leave a 5-star review. It's how more PM owners find the only acquisition expertise in the space that comes from all sides of the table. And while you're at it, grab my acquisition readiness checklist on my website at staceysalyer.com. Then, when you're ready to move from growth thinking to growth building, explore the Built to Acquire program. Don't leave it on the table. See you on the next episode.